There was a time you didn't know if you'd make it. The pain broke you, the betrayal crushed you, and the silence from the people you trusted, it nearly tore your heart apart. You cried in sajda with no words left. You begged Allah to just take the weight away because nothing else worked. But here you are, not because people helped you, not because time healed you, because Allah did. And now that same heart that once shattered has become your strongest shield, because when Allah heals you, no one can break you anymore. Not the people, not the past, not even your own fears. My beloved brothers and sisters, there are moments in life, my dear brothers and sisters, that hit you in a way nothing else can. They don't leave bruises, they don't draw blood, but they leave you broken in places no one can see. These are the moments when your soul trembles, not from physical pain, but from the kind of emotional weight that makes breathing feel like a burden. You show up every day, you get dressed, go to work, smile at your family, reply to messages. On the outside, it looks like everything is normal. People even praise your strength, saying, "MashaAllah, you're so composed." But what they don't see is that behind that smile is a heart desperately trying to stay intact. Behind that calm voice is a storm of emotions that you've locked away because you're too tired to explain it and too afraid they wouldn't understand. You laugh, but it's hollow. You speak, but your words are mechanical. You serve others even when your own cup is empty. And when night falls and you finally find a moment to sit in silence, that's when the weight crashes down. That's when the tears come, quiet, hidden, sometimes not even falling from your eyes, just sitting in your chest like an ache that never leaves. You begin to wonder, how long can I keep going like this? Will this heaviness ever leave me? Will anyone ever notice how much I'm hurting? But here's the beauty of the unseen pain. Even when the world doesn't see it, Allah does. He sees what no one else sees. He knows the thoughts you can't voice. He hears the silent dua that you whisper through your tears. He counts the sighs no one else pays attention to. And it is in those exact moments, when you feel invisible to people, that you are most seen by Allah, most loved, most cared for, most protected. Because while others look at your face, He looks directly at your heart. You may feel like you're barely holding on, but that tiny thread you're holding, that's your connection to Him. And Allah is not just watching you suffer, He's preparing your relief. He's not ignoring your pain. He's softening your heart to make room for something greater. He's not letting you carry the burden alone. He's waiting for you to surrender it to Him. So even if the smile is fake, even if you feel like no one sees you, know this, Allah does. And the one who sees the invisible pain is also the one who sends the most miraculous healing. It's not always the loud cries that reveal the depth of someone's pain. Sometimes, my beloved brothers and sisters, it's the silence that speaks the loudest. The silence that follows after you've cried all your tears. The silence that settles in when you've run out of words, run out of energy, run out of explanations. There is a kind of silence that only comes after a deep betrayal. When someone you trusted with your heart turns away, not with noise, but with quiet absence. They don't fight, they don't explain, they just leave. And in that space they leave behind, your soul begins to echo with emptiness. You start to question everything. Was I not enough? Did I deserve this? Why didn't they see my sincerity? Then there's the silence after heartbreak. The kind of heartbreak that doesn't just hurt your feelings, but crushes your spirit. When someone you cared for doesn't just walk away, but takes a piece of your peace with them. You try to continue to move on, but everything around you feels numb. Colors seem duller. Words feel empty. And yet you don't speak. Not because you have nothing to say, but because no one seems to truly listen. And then there's the silence after disappointment, when you've poured your soul into something, a dream, a relationship, a path you thought was written for you. You gave it your all. You made dua with hope. You stayed patient. You remained sincere. And still, it fell apart. Not with a loud crash, but with a quiet fizzle that leaves you blinking in disbelief. And in that silence, you're left to pick up the pieces of expectations that were never fulfilled. This kind of silence isn't peaceful. It's not the silence of rest. It's the silence of being unseen, unnoticed, unheard. You begin to wonder if anyone really sees what you're carrying, if anyone really understands what you've lost, if anyone even remembers how much you were trying. But let me remind you, my brothers and sisters, even if no one else sees you, Allah sees you. Even when your voice is quiet, your heart is screaming, and Allah hears that scream. Even when your lips are still, your soul is calling out, and Allah answers that call. Even when no one asks, are you okay? Allah sends comfort in a verse, in a sign, in a moment of unexpected calm. So don't ever think your silence is empty. With Allah, even the quiet is full of meaning, full of mercy, full of unseen angels recording your patience and carrying your du'as straight to the heavens. You are never invisible to the one who created you. People see what's on the surface. They see your actions, your smile, your strength, but they don't see what's behind it. They don't see the nights you stayed awake just trying to make sense of your pain. They don't see the silent tears that fall in sujood, or the way your heart trembles when you say, Ya Allah, I'm trying. They don't know that sometimes just getting out of bed is an act of courage. People will compliment your patience, but they don't see how often you bite your tongue just to keep the peace. They'll admire your strength, not realizing it's the strength of someone who is exhausted but still shows up. They'll assume you're doing fine because you're functioning, because you're composed. But they don't realize how heavy the burden is that you're carrying behind the scenes. You could be in a room full of people laughing, smiling, engaging, but still feel completely alone, because the ache you feel inside is not something company can fix. It's not about how many people surround you. It's about how unseen you feel, even in the middle of a crowd. You begin to wonder, if I disappeared right now, would anyone truly notice what I was going through? And this, my dear brothers and sisters, is where many people break, not outwardly, not in ways the world can see or understand, but inwardly, in the quiet hidden corners of the soul, in the places only Allah knows. They don't collapse in front of others, they collapse in their own hearts while still keeping everything together on the outside. But here's what brings hope in that breaking. Allah knows. He knows what even you can't explain. He sees beyond your behavior and straight into your burden. He doesn't just watch your life, He witnesses your soul. When no one else understands the depth of your pain, Allah does. When no one checks in on you, He never stops watching over you. When you don't have the words to describe your exhaustion, your sadness, your longing, He already knows. And that is what makes the believer strong. Not because they are unbreakable, but because when they do break, they break before their Rabb. And in that breaking, they are rebuilt. So if you feel unseen, unheard, misunderstood, don't despair, because the one who sees your soul doesn't need your explanations. He needs your sincerity, your patience, your whispered du'as in the darkness, and He will respond not just to what you show, but to what you carry. But what the world can't see, Allah knows in full detail. That tear you wiped quietly on your pillow at night, He saw it. That moment you felt completely invisible, like your pain wasn't valid, He heard it. That time you made dua not with loud words, but with a trembling heart and a whisper, He accepted it. You see, Allah doesn't need volume to hear you. He doesn't need evidence to believe you. He doesn't need explanation to understand you. And the most beautiful part, even while your world was falling apart, even while you were silently breaking, even while you were asking yourself, Ya Allah, how much more can I bear? He was already preparing the healing. He was already building a new chapter. He was already placing light within the darkness. So never underestimate what you've survived. Never belittle your strength just because you still feel pain. The fact that you're still standing today, even with all that you've endured, is proof that Allah has been carrying you through storms you didn't even know you could survive. He was there all along when no one else was. When we talk about healing, many of us imagine a return to the version of ourselves we once knew, the one that smiled freely, trusted easily, walked confidently without the weight of wounds. We say to ourselves, I just want to feel like myself again. But let me tell you something powerful. When Allah heals you, He doesn't take you backward. He doesn't rewind your life to a time before the pain. He moves you forward into a version of yourself you never even knew was possible. Because true healing from Allah is not about restoration, it's about transformation. You see, when human beings try to heal themselves, they patch things up, they distract, they cover the cracks. But when Allah, Ar-Rahman, the most merciful, decides to heal your heart, He doesn't just fix the damage, He redefines your strength, He restructures your inner world, He gives you a heart that remembers but no longer aches, a mind that recalls but no longer replays, a soul that has seen the fire and walked through it cooled by His mercy. He takes the brokenness and uses it to build beauty. He takes your shattered trust and replaces it with tawakkul, deep, unwavering reliance on Him. He takes the naivety you once had and replaces it with wisdom that protects you without hardening your heart. He takes the tears you cried alone and turns them into quiet conversations with Him that you now treasure more than anything. And then He makes you someone new, someone who can stand in the same place where they once fell, but this time with unshakable faith. Someone who can hear the same voice that once hurt them, but now it doesn't move them. Someone who can be reminded of the same past, but instead of collapsing, they say, Subhanallah, look what Allah brought me through. This is the power of Allah's healing. It doesn't just bring you back, it brings you better, it brings you stronger, it brings you closer to Him. And here's the amazing part. The people around you may not even notice how deep that transformation is. They may still see the same face, the same voice, the same name, but you know deep in your chest that you're no longer that fragile soul who once broke. You've been rebuilt, you've been refined, you've been rerouted by the one who never wastes your pain. So the next time you think healing is about going back to who you were, remind yourself that version of you was good. But this version, this stronger, wiser, more spiritually grounded version of you, this is the gift that came from the pain. And only Allah could do that. And the beauty is, it doesn't happen all at once. It doesn't come with fanfare or announcements. Allah's healing enters quietly, like the dawn after the darkest night. At first, you may not even realize it. You wake up one morning and notice that what once made